Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a new series that we're doing here on the Blown for Good channel, and this is Scientology's Tom Cruise Spy Files. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, we have around 40,000 pages of internal Scientology documents from the Office of Special Affairs and the Scientology headquarters that are all about people that they're trying to mess with that are exposing the truth about Scientology. And we got these documents from a person that escaped, and they found out that they had a drive with them that had a whole bunch of these files on them. And we've been covering these for about a year on the channel. And the series that we just wrapped up was about 25 documents that mainly covered Scientology spying on myself and my family and all of the activities surrounded around that. And in the last video that we did, the video was about me and about Tom Cruise and an article that appeared in the media. And so that document was the last one that was just directly or solely about me. And I thought, you know what, let's look through the files and see if we can find any more that have Tom Cruise included in them. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or it's a security measure, but most of these documents that are being sent back and forth between the Office of Special Affairs and the headquarters of Scientology, Church of Scientology International, and David Miscavige at the Religious Technology Center, none of these documents are named. And if you're not familiar with software that creates documents, most of them, if you just write a document and you don't save it with a name, it just uses the first few words of the document to be the name of the document. So almost all of the documents that we have are just the person that the document is being routed or sent to is the name of the document. So we just can't search Tom Cruise through the documents and see which ones they are. We have to actually search the contents of all of those. And because Tom Cruise's name appears in a lot of documents that aren't necessarily all about him, it takes a lot to go through 40,000 pages to decipher which ones are about Tom Cruise and which ones just contain his name when they're just speaking about like a public relations speech or something about Scientology that just happens to have his name in it. So that was a bit of a challenge, but we did go through the documents. We had to do multiple searches by multiple people that were associated with Tom Cruise, or if we found one document, we would search the other people in that document to see if there was any more containing them, like people that work for Tom Cruise or just anybody in his sort of circle. And after doing that for a while, we've come up with about 90 documents. And these documents are, they're pretty crazy. Some of the documents that we covered in the last series were just coming from Office of Special Affairs in Los Angeles, being sent to the headquarters in Gilman Hot Springs, California, and then forwarded from those people to wherever David Miscavige was at the time, whether he was at the international headquarters or he was at another Scientology Sea organization base somewhere around the world. Now, these Tom Cruise documents are very, very sensitive. And in a lot of cases, the Office of Special Affairs are not even CC'd or copied on any of these documents. And they're just going between Church of Scientology International and David Miscavige at RTC. And the only people that are being copied on these are other people that work with David Miscavige in most cases. Now, the other thing that I want to tell you is that whenever Scientology would have a phone call with one of these people, regardless of who it was, if it was somebody outside of Scientology, in almost all cases, the phone calls have been recorded and transcribed. And there are some of those in this as well that have to do with people that are being met with in terms of media or lawyers or anybody related to these different conversations that are taking place. And so that's another thing that is a bit unique to these documents. And in some of these documents, you'll see that the Office of Special Affairs is being directed to gather up intel or to activate private investigators or resources they have within the Creative Artist Agency, CAA, or media outlets, or whoever they're talking to. OSA is being directed to get all the information regarding that individual or that company or the production that's occurring that might have something to do with Scientology or Tom Cruise. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of new players and faces that are contained in these documents that you may not have any idea who these people are. And so we're going to do a new thing at the beginning of each video where we're going to identify all of the key players that are involved in each document, because they change from document to document. There's a few, Tom Cruise is going to be a key player for most of them. David Miscavige will be a key player for most of them. But then some of the other surrounding characters, and maybe even some bit players and key players, will change from document to document. So I think that pretty much explains what we're going to cover. So let's get right to it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the key players for this first document. And I'll bring that up, and you can see Scientology's Tom Cruise spy files, key players. So, of course, you've got David Miscavige, the chairman of the board, Religious Technology Center. He is the leader of Scientology, and he is the one who, in all cases, is micromanaging and directing every single thing that is happening in these documents. Nobody at OSA or the Church of Scientology International or anybody in Religious Technology Center, they're not working on anything that David Miscavige hasn't directly told them this is what needs to be done. So you've got Dave Miscavige, then you've got Greg Wilhare. Now he's a new person. You may have heard about him in other documents or other stories or other videos we've done in the last year. He is in a bunch of these documents, and he is a Religious Technology Center executive that works directly for David Miscavige. Then you've got Tom Cruise. You've got Shelley Miscavige is active, or at least involved in a bunch of these documents. And at the time that these documents are taking place, she was chairman of the board's assistant. So she also was David Miscavige's personal assistant. Then we have another guy named Kurt Wieland. And he moved around to different positions throughout these documents, but for the most part, he was either WDC OSA, which is the Watchdog Committee Chairman for the Office of Special Affairs. So that is the individual at the Church of Scientology International that is responsible for everything that the Office of Special Affairs does and the results and the products that they achieve. And then he's also... this is a little bit of a shade. You'll see that the title he has in this picture is called the ATCO CMO Int. And that's actually a little bit of a slight that David Miscavige makes people do, which is if your name doesn't have a slash in front of it, then that means that's your job and you're good at your job and that's your job. That's your permanent post in the C organization. If you have an A or a T before your post title, then that's sort of a slight. Like if it's an A, that means you're just acting as that post, but it's temporary and you could be removed at any time. As well as T means that you're the temporary person and that you can be transferred or moved at any time. So the fact that Kurt Wieland has an A and a T before his post title is sort of that's a double shade being thrown at him, that he's both acting as that thing and he could be removed, and he's just temporary and he could be removed. And he was moved, like I said, he was moved between that and WDC or back to that, or just Kurt Wieland with no post title. Then we've got Jan Eastgate, who is the executive director of CCHR, and that is the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And that is a front group that Scientology operates solely for the purpose of attacking psychiatry. And you'll know that between like let's say 2004-ish and 2008-ish, Tom Cruise was very heavy on the anti-psychiatry train, and the people that he's getting that information from is the Citizen Commission on Human Rights and the Office of Special Affairs and the Church of Scientology International. So Jan Eastgate is involved in some of these as well. And then we have a psychiatrist named Thomas Saz, I guess that's how you say his name. And he is a psychiatrist that works for Scientology to attack psychiatry's certain practices that psychiatry used to or still employs in terms of how they prescribe medications and sort of thing, that sort of thing. And then in this document, we have Larry King is one of the key players in this. And he's if you don't know who Larry King is, he's a TV host. I think he has since passed away. I'm pretty sure he's passed away. And then rest in peace. And then you have Larisse Stuckenbrock. And she, at the time of these documents, was chairman of the board's communicator. And that's also just like an assistant type post. And in a lot of these documents, she is the go-between between Church of Scientology International and David Miscavige. So the documents are being written to her in some cases so that David Miscavige doesn't have any direct connection with the documents. But in a lot of cases, whatever she's writing is just what he said, and it's just from her instead of from him. So she's in a bunch of these documents. And then we also have a newcomer, which is Tori Mackay. And she, at the time of these documents, was the chairman of the board Religious Technology Center Communicator for Compliance. So if David Miscavige had issued an order to someone in Scientology or the Sea organization, she is the person that chases up them getting the order done. And when you would report compliance to David Miscavige in the form of a compliance report or just an answer, she would have to be copied on it so that she knows that you complied to this order, and she can log it, or she can say you've answered it, but you haven't done the order, or whatever it is. She's the one who tracks everything that David Miscavige orders, and then gets that either to get done or chases it up so that no one forgets about it. And David Miscavige actually has about, when I was there from 1990 to 2005, David Miscavige had about, I would say, 4 or 5 different people that were sort of in related positions that would be chasing you up. There could be, if David Miscavige gave you an order to do something, you could have 3 or 4 different people kind of contacting you or coming to your work area and saying, hey, where does this stand or where does that stand, to chase up getting stuff done for David Miscavige. Okay. So that's that. So we will cover, we're going to try to do this for each document, and some of them might even be 2 pages depending on how many people are involved. And some of the upcoming people in these documents are going to be very interesting. I'll give you just a taste of what those are. We're going to have Oprah Winfrey, John Travolta, Barbara Walters, Anderson Cooper, at the LA Times, CAA, as I mentioned, the Creative Artist Agency, LAPD, Dateline, CNN, Barbara Walters, just to name I think I named Barbara Walters already, but just to name a few people that are going to be involved in it. And there will be many, many more, but those are just a few of the key players that we're going to cover. And some of these people are kind of playing along with Scientology, and some of these people actually turn on Scientology and do a bad show or do a bad piece or an interview that kind of pokes fun at Tom or John or Scientology, and then you see the reaction of Scientology and how they're talking to John Travolta, and he's super pissed that Oprah did this, and all of that is in these documents. And these will not disappoint because just as the last documents we covered, it sounds like a bunch of high school girls fighting and mean girling each other. These are on a whole new level where you have Scientology mean girling these big giant companies and these super famous individuals. And it's kind of wild. Okay, let's get into the document. So this is page 1, and this is a document from March 2nd, 2004. And this document is to the chairman of the board And the CCs, the carbon copies, are going to COB assistant RTC, COB com RTC, COB com for compliance, Greg Wilhare, and it's coming from the acting temporary commanding officer of the CMO International. And the CMO International is the Commodore's Messenger Organization International. And that organization is tasked with doing whatever L. Ron Hubbard ordered or his intentions for Scientology. The CMO is his organization. He is the Commodore of the C organization, and this is his personal organization. And there are CMO offices. There's an international office, which is in Gilman Hot Springs, California, and then there's continental offices all over the world. There are West US, East US. There's an extension unit for international that's in Los Angeles. ANZO, Africa, all these other different CMOs, UK, all over the world. Okay, so this is from the acting temporary COCMO, which is at the time, this was Kurt Wieland. And it says, TC and Larry King, yours of 1 March. So David Miscavige wrote to Kurt and asked him a question, and then he's answering that and giving him the information for his question. Dear Sir, I am getting back to you on your comm regarding TC's intended CCHR actions. See transcript on left inside of this folder. 1. You first requested to know, relative to TC wanting to go on Larry King and ripping the psychs together with Thomas Zaz, who keeps pushing this. I pulled the string and found out the only suggestions for TC to go on the show have come from King himself. When TC did Larry King's, yeah, see, there's a lot of typos in here too. So if I stumble on the words, it's just because some Sea Org members don't have spell check or any kind of, they don't have Grammarly or any kind of thing to check this. When TC did the Larry King's promoting The Last Samurai, King started to ask controversial questions about Scientology, which Tom did not like. As a result, he sent a letter to King expressing his displeasure and views. Within half an hour of King receiving the letter, he called TC apologizing and telling him that anytime he wants, he can come back on his show and any issue he wants to cover. Tom subsequently sent a copy of the recent briefing memo on the FDA hearings on child drugging to King. King's response, again, was to tell Tom that anytime he wants, he could come on his show. TC himself is very interested to go back onto the show because of its international distribution and demographics, i.e. the concentration of higher IQ people that watch it. As for whether anyone from the church or CCHR is pushing him, the answer is no. Tom is very hot on the topic of psychs and wants to do a lot. Most recently, he was fired up by the CCHR dinner on Saturday evening, which he attended. See attached summary report. Thomas Zaz was present and gave a speech, which impressed TC as it did the rest of the audience. All staff have been and remain under instructions not to originate or suggest, much less push actions to him. Tommy Davis confirmed, I left Tommy Davis off the key players. I might revise that and add Tommy Davis. So if you see Tommy Davis on there and I don't talk about it, it's because I added him after this. I didn't realize he was in here. Tommy Davis confirmed that at the anniversary dinner when TC spoke with Jan Eastgate and other CCHR execs, no one originated any actions that TC should or could do, but listened to the originations he made and act those. That just means acknowledged. Okay, so basically, you get it. Dave wants to know who's pushing Tom to do this psych stuff with Larry, and it's Larry. That's the short answer for all this. An entire page. Larry is the answer. Okay, page 2. 2. On the CCHR exhibit, TC origination was fully understood by CCHR. I don't know what that means. Did he have an origination? On the CCHR exhibit, TC origination was fully understood by CCHR. Accordingly, I had OSA staff and the CCHR execs go through their permanent exhibit this morning and work out how they will revise it to include a section at the entrance to the exhibit will drive home the point that psychiatry's theories and treatments have absolutely no foundation in reality, let alone science. This section will have a video of Jan introducing the exhibit, of Dr. Zaz's speech he gave at the CCHR anniversary, the applicable section pertaining to the false science psychiatry used to justify its existence. See attached video. This will put psychiatry in the proper perspective right from the word go and act to FDS people. That means false data strip. That just means when Scientology gives their information, whatever information they consider false, whether it's true or false, this will replace that information. It'll strip that information away and put the new information in the person's mind. From the word go and act to FDS the people before they take in the rest of the tour. Additionally, 2 panels will be added next to the panel where the DSM-4 is exposed. These 2 panels will cover DSM is the book of is a psychiatry I guess it's a psychiatry book or a psychology book, both, that identifies disorders, mental disorders. That's my understanding of it. These 2 panels will cover the subject of chemical imbalances and schizophrenia, which is the example illness used the most to lure people into the trap of chemical imbalances. The panels will drive home the points that these psych assertions and claims are falsities and do not exist. See attached panels. These panels are getting designed right now by the dissemination division of the Office of Special Affairs International, together with Jan Eastgate, and will be sent to me for approval before installation over the next couple of days. The text of these panels is attached. This is okay. Much love, Kurt. And then it says attachment, and then I'll put them up on the screen, but I'm not going to read all these because it's basically the script of a video, and it's video purse CCHR. I don't know what that purse is. I guess that's the post of, I think it's actually supposed to say Prez, not purse. President CCHR int and Dr. Zaz intro to exhibit. Yeah, so it's a typo. And then I'll put that up on the screen if you want to freeze frame it and you want to read all the nonsense that's in there. But I'm not going to read all this. Also because it's a ton of craziness from Scientology. And while I'm going to the next page, if you guys don't know, Scientology believe that psychiatrists are from the planet Farsec, which is where I think psychiatrists and psychologists and the IRS, that's their home planet. Then it's the second page of that. I'll put that up. And then there's another one, which is the panel, first added panicle, the chemical imbalance lie, the great psychiatric swindle. I'll put this up for a few seconds if you want to freeze frame it. And then there's a second page, which is mental illness is not a disease. And it's got a bunch of quotes. And these will be just a printed thing that's on just like a display panel as you enter into their, in the Citizens Commission of Human Rights facility on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. They have a museum. I think it's called the Museum of Death exhibit. And it's just all about psychiatry. And this is what they're all talking about that they're going to go into. And then it has a second added panel, schizophrenia, another psychiatric lie, real treatment, not psychiatric harm. And it's got that panel. And then the second page of that panel. And then that's that. Oh, and then there's I guess I'll put this up too. It says CCHR's 35th anniversary dinner and human rights awards 2004. And then I think it's just a summary of what happened at the event. And I'll put this up as well. That's the first page right there. That's the second page. And this is the third page. It's basically just a kind of, and this is the fourth page. And that's the end of this document. So that was 12 pages altogether. And again, I'm not going to read all this because it is literally Scientology mumbo jumbo. So yeah, this is the first one, and this one, I think the next one is months later. But once we start getting into South Park, Mission Impossible, Last Samurai. There's a whole bunch of, not Last Samurai. This was the one with Last Samurai in it, but there's a bunch of media outlets that want to do an interview with either Tom Cruise or David Miscavige, and they are using that sort of as a lever to not have any of those media outlets do any bad stories about Scientology. Otherwise, that takes them off the list to get either Tom or David Miscavige for anything. So anybody who wants to jump on the Tom Cruise gravy train cannot do any bad articles either about Scientology or Tom Cruise. And that's, for the most part, that's what most 90 of these files contain. But there are some of these files that are about Tom Cruise's production company and his individual staff either being promoted or fired or interrogated. There's a DVD that gets lost and everybody gets interrogated that has anything to do with anything. And then there's a ton of Cruise's agents, Paramount, Comedy Central, CAA, his individual agent, Kevin Huvane, I think his name is, you name it. There is so much insanity that's going to be packed into these files. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next one of these is going to come out. We're going to try to do at least one a week. Depending on how long or how involved these are, we might be able to get up to 2 a week. But we're going to try to crank through these and show you guys what's really going behind the scenes at Scientology. And it's going to blow your mind. I guarantee you. There's so much crazy in these documents. And it also shows how I think it also will demonstrate how major media in Hollywood, how it's a machine that's established. And if you try to mess with anybody that's part of that machine, the machine is designed to keep you off the radar and push that story down to the bottom of the pile so no one sees it. And luckily, we're doing this on YouTube and we're doing this on TikTok or podcast or however you're watching this right now, on X. And those platforms are allowing us to get this content out to you. So no matter how you subscribe or watch us, please download or like or subscribe or put a review or whatever it is on whatever platform you're watching so that we can keep bringing these Scientology spy files to you. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Until next time.